Hey all, we're here today with a fun new one. This is a little bit different. We have a Porsche. It's a Porsche. I don't know how to say it. It's a Porsche Cayenne. It's fitted with an off-road lift from another company. So the car's here with this because the owner brought it to us and it was too low, especially in the front. And he said he found us online and asked us to help him with springs, which we did. We did the same spring math we do on everything. We established that it had a 550 front spring and needed a 750. We established that the rear spring was okay, but needed a little more preload, and it was good. He said he went out to the desert. The car was good for a little while, then got terrible. He brought it to us asking why. I said, I don't know. You need to bring the shocks off and bring them to us, which we did. We took the springs off, took the shock apart. Inside the shock, it was destroyed. Evidence of side loading, bad side loading. I don't know the suspension on a Cayenne well, so I didn't know what to do with that other than tell him there's evidence of side loading. And he called the company that did the lift. They sent him a set of Fox shocks, 6.5s with 5/8 shafts. He put those on without me. No, he did bring them to us for us to put the springs on, but then he installed them, went out to the desert, and it was making an awful bang noise when it extended. He brought the car to us. I jacked it up, and the car was topping out on that shock long before it got to the end of travel. And I said, the shock's too short. He then called the other company. They sent him another set of shocks. We put the springs on those for him. He went out to the desert, and within 100 yards had broken both of them, broken one shaft, bent the other one. He didn't know what was going on, and I just told him I don't know. I'm not going to do any more spring work unless I can engineer the car, which he agreed to do. And so that's why we're here, is to engineer the car. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all the broken stuff off. We're going to make sure everything's good and straight. We're going to cycle the suspension. We're going to find out how long the shock can be, where the side loadings come from, and just find out what's wrong with what's going on so we don't have breakages again. So this brings me to my last little point. This happens a lot. We see parts built and sent out and poorly engineered, and I don't want to say that, but I'm going to say it because it's true. Poorly engineered parts sent out, a guy will put them on his vehicle, and then things break, and he blames the shock because the shock broke. Well, it's not the shock. It is something causing it. There's always cause and effect, and that's what we're here to find out, is what is the cause and effect, and what can you do if you put something on? Well, the big thing that you need to do is when you put parts on your car, you need to go through the work of cycling it. You can't cycle a coil of shock with the coils on unless you have a forklift or a lift or something to lift it up and make all that force. You need to take the coil off. We'll go right through the forklift and then we'll do it if we need to. What you need to do is cycle your suspension. It is hard to cycle a coil over shock with the spring on, but you need to take the spring off. You need to cycle it without the spring. I will recommend you do one thing, is leave a spring on, but make it a short enough spring that you can slide that spring up and down and make sure there's no interference. You need to look for length. The shock and the suspension should bottom out at the same place. The shock and the suspension should top at the same place. That's not as critical as the bottom out, but it should top out at the same place as well. You should be able to do full steering and articulation movement without any bind, no side load. You only want the shock to be plunging in and out. That has to do with anything that functions on suspension. Make sure nothing touches. I'm a rock crawler. I've run cars with a little bit of kiss when the tire hits it full place or full turn and full stuff. We can live with a little bit, but especially if you're going through the desert, you can't have side load. The shock is at its weakest fully extended. If it's side loaded and fully extended, it's just going to buckle. So we're going to engineer this car, find out what's right, get it right, and so this customer can go and enjoy his off-roading with his family in his Porsche Cayenne, and let's get into it. Hey y'all, got a fun one in the shop today. We're at the Izzy Home Shop. A lot of people recognize the hoard of stuff. We got a good one today, working on a Porsche Cayenne. Porsche Cayenne? I don't know how to say it. Anyway, we're working on somebody else's lift kit. Some Fox shocks installed. We've been through an iteration. This is the first time I've actually had hands on it. Had some RIZ or something shocks out of the Netherlands on it. They blew up the front. Put some Fox shocks on it. They were too short. Got some longer Fox shocks. You can see a little hitch in its giddy up there. They didn't work. Somebody else's lift kit, not one that I've done. This is my first time at it. So the owner wanted me to have a look. I don't know if you can see it, but that shaft is no longer attached to the rod end. It's way offside and it's broken. Some good side loading on these. I'm going to engineer, see what we have to do and figure out the best way to go, and we will let the owner know, and then we'll either build some stuff or he can have it built or whatever. But I'll keep you updated. All right, so shocks are out. I can't find a tape measure. I own 400. Okay, maybe 100, but I still own a lot and can never find any. What we're looking at here is basically we're trying to get the extended length measurement of the suspension, and we're getting upper bolt top to lower bolt top is 27 and about 5/16. And we got a little white dog, a little black and white dog that likes tape measures. Little black and white dog eating my tape measure. And so now I'm going to collapse the suspension. I've taken both sides out. I've removed the sway bar. I'm going to collapse the suspension and see what our collapse length is. But my real concern here is this lower bushing being rigid, and it's set up for McPherson strut type thing. And as the suspension gets closer to zero, it appears to me that there's rake, and that means that the suspension leans back like this, and as it goes closer it becomes misaligned, and I think that rigid lower clevis is causing a ton of side load. So let's see what happens. Okay, clear everything nice and secure. Let's go up. Bushing suspensions are hard to figure if the suspension is free. Like this sway bar is really sticky, and that could cause a bad ride off-road, on-road. I don't know that it matters, but you know, on-road, off-road, different worlds, right? Okay, I kind of don't like what's happening here. Yep. We're gonna go back down. Yes, I could just drop the car on the lift. Yep, sure could. Not my favorite thing to do with my own vehicles, let alone somebody else's vehicle that's above my pay grade. That'd be a fun one to try to explain to the boss how we have to buy a Porsche. Is it Porsche or Porsche? I say Porsche. I don't know. I'll pause you. Got a phone call. Let's see. I'm gonna get this one somewhat less precarious. Now we'll finish the droop travel. Checking. CV looks really good. I think CV is. Droop is angle is not great. Okay, so that's full bump on the inner fender well. I'm not sure what is supposed to be the stop. I believe it's the McPherson strut supposed to be the stop. Not a true McPherson because this is double wishbone. 2 mounting points and a ball joint. 2 mounting points and a ball joint. So let's get a measure. I don't know if you can see that. We'll see. And so I take it up here. I go to the, it works really well for this is if you take the bolt, the mounting bolt, if you'll go through this way, put it through, you can then hook on the top of the mounting bolt. It'd be better if we didn't have a screw on it, but this is going to be close enough for government work. And we're going 22 and 5/16. So we take that distance and subtract 22 and 5/16 from what we had on the extended, and there's our travel. So that's exactly 5 inches of shaft travel in the shock. Don't know what that equals out here, but we will definitely see. And let's shut you off and do the other side and see what we got to. So here we got shock in bare. We did the measurements. We went to the shop and put together something with some parts we had laying around. Came back. So that's how the top of that clevis, that Pro R clevis is not all that special, is it? A lot of people do it. So, so that's how it's sitting, looking good so far. It cycles very freely, have no issue with that. Can cycle it just short of cycle it by hand. Parts are heavy and the ball joints and the bushings are a little sticky, so not quite, but pretty happy with that. We'll go from there. We are back on the Porsche Cayenne project. We got some more parts. David got, the owner got some billet up arms, a little bit more subframe, i.e. body lift. We went from, I don't remember what it is, 1.5 inch, 75 to 100 millimeter. That's not right. To 50 millimeter. Yeah. Went from 1.5 inch to 2 inch. 50 is 2, so 35-ish would be 1.5 inches. I'm not going to do the math. 1/2 inch drop for the transmission as well. Some drops for the exhaust and a steering shaft extension. I don't know anything about that. I'm just gonna dive into it this morning, and we have something to do first, and then we'll get into this funny little thing on the floor here. These are some clevises that were off a set of shocks that were bent, and a couple of front Can-Am shafts, and a couple of 1/2-inch female arms to make struts just to be able to roll it off the lift and work on other stuff while we're waiting for parts. Kind of cool. Let's go look at the car and see what we have to do this morning. I believe I showed you that it's hard to see under here. I believe I showed you that we have some contact right there. There's a light. Yeah, we have some contact right there. And then if we move up, you can see that we're 1/2 inch or better from having the bolt in with the contact. And so that bracket right there, we're going to offset today. We're going to take that off. We'll either rebuild the bracket, make the bracket, or we will cut the tabs off that one and weld new ones on. You'll come around here slowly, trying to do better on lighting. If you see, there's some relief for springs currently, and so it's in that unibody portion, and we will have some room to move those shocks in. The other option would be to rebuild the clevis there and move those nuts, or the holes for this out, move the shock in. Certainly an option. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the upper. All right, well, here we go. So there you go, part one for the Cayenne, I don't know, the Porsche Cayenne. We did some engineering, we did some diagnosis, we did some engineering, we made some parts and test fit. In part two, we're going to make some parts to fix the things we found, and we're going to fit those, and then we're going to cycle everything, make sure it works. Hopefully that's it. Might be a part three. We'll see how it goes. What's the takeaways from part one? You buy suspension components, especially if they're for a new out-of-the-box kind of thing. Do your diligence. Cycle, make sure there's no interference. Even if you have to get a shop to help you with that, you'll be money ahead to do that. To make sure things are going to work before you go out and use the car hard, break a bunch of stuff. So that's takeaways. Hope you enjoy what you saw. Again, part two is coming up, so stay tuned for that. recommend us to your friends. Maybe you know somebody's got a Porsche Cayenne, or however you say it, or something that they're just interested in this stuff. We'll work on lots of different vehicles. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment down below. We really like to see your comments. Tells us what you want to see. I may do what I want, but I want to do what you want. So just want to say thank you very much. We really appreciate you watching.